You're listening to CPA Review and More with your host, Phil Yeager. I'm Rob Medford, your producer, and in this week's episode, Phil interviews Chrissie Hendrickson of Parker Lynch. Chrissie is the Division Director of Direct Hires at the Parker Lynch, Washington, D.C. location, and she goes into a little bit of the background of what she does to help finance professionals and accountants find permanent placement jobs. If you like what you've been hearing on this podcast, drop us a line, let us know. We want to keep bringing more great quality content to our listeners. If you've got a topic you'd like to hear on the show, don't hesitate to send that feedback to us at podcast@YeagerCPAReview.com. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast so other people you may know can get great quality content related to the CPA, accounting, and finance world.
Hello, everyone. This is Phil Yeager, and welcome to CPA Review and More. And today we're going to actually deal with the more. And I have as my guest today, Chrissie Hendrickson, Chrissie, who is Division Director for Parker Lynch, and she leads the recruiting and business development efforts of a team who specializes in permanent placement for accounting and finance professionals, and she's in the Washington, D.C. metro area. Chrissie, thank you for being on today.
That's right. No, thank you so much for having me.
Chrissie, what we're seeing in the accounting profession is that there are actually, over the last 10 years, there's been a drop of about 30,000 candidates who take the CPA exam. 10 years ago, it was 60,000 people. Now we have 30,000 people. And we're wondering, where are these people going? Do you see them going into finance? What is the areas that are actually most sought after? Accounting jobs or finance jobs?
Yeah, that's a question and really interesting statistic. So I would say here at Parker and Lynch, we do focus on both accounting and finance recruiting. And what we do is searches on behalf of our clients. And I will tell you, Phil, that most of our clients come to us looking for accountants because I think that more people are probably pursuing a career within the finance track. That's at least what I see. You know, if we put an ad out there for a staff accountant versus an ad out there for a financial analyst, we might get, 10 to 15 applicants for accountant and 150 to 300 applicants for financial analyst roles. So that means that our clients are having a harder time finding folks who actually are good at accounting and want to do accounting, and that's why they come to us. So I find that could be definitely a more in-demand track for folks pursuing that field.
Now, do you think people are going into finance versus accounting today? Because the accounting CPA road requires 5 years of accounting now to sit and get the CPA. However, when you go into a finance major, you only have 4 years, I understand, of college, and you don't have to worry about getting a master's degree. And also, it's my understanding that finance majors are being actually offered higher salaries than CPAs. Is that what you see in the market?
Yes, I do see that. I think that the reasoning I've heard from millennials, people who are new coming out into the career, into the workforce, their interest level lies more on the finance side than accounting. I've heard this in so many interviews that folks are interested in the forward-looking position, and they want to analyze and they want to give recommendations and have their input into things, and that's what they see aligning more with finance. I haven't heard the hesitation about, it takes so much studying and work to be a CPA, but I have heard the, finance I see as being more interesting and exciting and offering more opportunities for growth, especially among millennials.
And can you tell me approximately what is the starting salary for a graduate in finance from a fairly good university at the end of 4 years?
So we're talking like a financial analyst versus like an investment banking role, right?
I would think so. I mean, if you're coming out of school with a finance degree, what kind of position are you going to get at the end of 4 years?
Usually mean, usually that's something like a junior financial analyst or a financial analyst one, something like that. Generally, I see for entry level, no experience in that area is probably between 60 and 70. Maybe 50 to 55 if it's a real small company or a nonprofit. Higher level if it's more private sector or more prestigious with heavier hours commitment. Usually it's around that level.
So if I'm a CPA coming out of college, do you know the starting salaries today for CPAs coming out of college, which means they have 5 years of schooling?
I see CPAs brand new out of college. Are we talking with no experience here?
Basically with no experience.
Yeah.
Well, I should take that back. They generally have to get 1 or 2 years experience to get the license. Now, some states say you can get a master's degree instead of having the experience. And the experience requires that they work under a CPA in some capacity. So I guess they would have, coming out of school, they would have probably 1 year of experience under a CPA or with a CPA firm.
Yeah, for that kind of professional, really, I see similar base salaries. I would think that around the $60,000 level is a good salary. I think that folks could come out into the workforce and with their CPA and accept something like a transactional accounting role in accounts payable or accounts receivable or something a little bit more transactional for a little bit lower of a salary if they don't have as much experience. But I think anywhere between the 50 and 50 on the low end, 70 on the very high end, with 60 being a median. I think that's pretty fair for that entry level CPA.
But as a student, I say to myself, should I major in accounting or finance? Well, I go into finance and I can start out 50 to 60, maybe with some experience, 60 to 70, where if I major in accounting, I have to get that 5th year, which costs me, I don't know how much money, maybe 25, I'm being probably on the low side, $25,000 to $30,000, and the starting salaries coming out are about the same. So actually, it's costing me $25,000 more to get the CPA certificate. Yet, if I'd majored in finance, it shouldn't be that difficult to get an opening job as a financial analyst. Is that correct?
Well, actually, I think there is a little bit of a trade-off here because I think that financial analyst positions are harder to get than an accounting role. I mean, I think there are more companies looking to hire accountants and folks who want to do that staff accountant role, and it's in higher demand because fewer people choose that path. So I think there's a little bit of a trade-off there.
Now, if someone wants to make it in the finance area, do they have to get the CFA? Is that really sort of a necessity like the CPA is to the accountant?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I think it's not necessary. I think that you can start in a company as a financial analyst and be able to grow within that company and then give you more and more, and be able to grow internally. But then if you're looking to make a transition from your company to another company, that's where I think the CFA is really going to come into play in terms of giving you the competitive edge over other candidates vying for, to be hired from an external basis.
Now, for those who don't know this, the CFA is the Chartered Financial Analyst. I think that's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know anything about that exam? I mean, I know about the CPA exam because I'm a CPA, but what is that exam like? I mean, I've heard real nightmares about it.
I know. Gosh, I've heard nightmare stories about the CPA too. So I think both are real challenges. And I think that, I think it's a very, hiring managers look at that with a lot of respect. I know the CFA is also a multiple part exam, but my knowledge into the CFA actual exam isn't all that deep actually. So I don't want to speak out of turn.
So I guess I would summarize by saying at this point, all right, if you become a CPA, there's a tremendous demand because there's a shortage. Yes. Where if you major in finance and you come out, is it just as easy to get a position, or Do you think it's a little harder without experience?
I would say it's harder, really, Phil. I mean, I really would. I mean, I think that more people want to do that than want to go into accounting. I kind of compare it to I spent a few years of my career doing recruiting and placement for administrative professionals. So I compare it, to getting out of college. If you want an administrative assistant role or you're open to that, then there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you. If you're only targeting something to get you into marketing, for instance, it's in higher demand, so it's tougher to get those jobs. So that's how I compare it to, outside the accounting and finance world to recent college grads.
Excuse me. I would say to a CPA, all right, correct me if I'm wrong on this. If you become a CPA, you can probably still go into the financial area, the finance area. Is that correct? Where a finance person is not going to necessarily be easily brought into the CPA market. All right.
Yep. I think, hit the nail on the head here. For instance, I'm working on a position right at this very moment. It just opened with a client last week, and he is a manager of FP&A for a company here in the DC area. And
repeat those. What was that again? I'm sorry. The what letters? You mentioned some letters there.
Oh, sure. He's a manager of FP&A. So he's a manager of financial planning and analysis for this company. And so he's looking to hire on his team a financial analyst, but he has a team right now of 4 already. Well, right now 3. And he said that the other financial analysts all come from either investment banking or corporate development. And he really needs on his team someone with a strong accounting background. So right now he's really looking for someone with about 2 years of public accounting experience and a CPA to be able to train into the financial analyst role. So that's what we're recruiting for that particular opportunity. And I think that opportunities like that definitely abound versus going from finance and switching gears to into accounting.
Now, there is another certification, Certified Financial Planner. Do any finance jobs require that? I know Certified Financial Planner is a lot of insurance, tax planning, that type of thing. But
yeah. So I would say that none of the companies that we recruit for look for the CFP. The only industry that really looks for that CFP is the financial advising firms, like the brokerage firms and private wealth advisors, which Parker and Lynch doesn't typically place within. We place within like financial planning and analysis departments, like more corporate finance. So CFP is, CFP is only really relevant if you're looking to do like advising and financial planning for certain clients.
Now let's talk about exactly who you recruit. All right. I understand we were talking before we started, and you said that you do actually recruiting for people who have experience. Is that correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what type of people are you looking for, first of all, in the accounting field? Tell me what a typical accountant who has 2 years experience, all right, needs to have to get into some type of position that you may have in your company. Now, do they need the CPA?
So I have some clients that will only see candidates with their CPAs, and I have some clients that it's a very much nice, not necessary. So let me give you an example. So I'm right now looking at what we call our hot sheet, the list of open positions that we are working on right now. So I'm working on a corporate accountant role for a private equity firm, and they're looking for 3 years of accounting experience, and CPA is heavily, heavily preferred for this firm. Compensation for that position is going to be in the mid 70s with a 10 to 15% bonus. So it's a pretty good package for someone who's coming out of public accounting or another corporate accountant type of role, and they're very firm on the CPA. Another role I'm working on right now is with a trade association. So trade associations being a really big industry, and especially in DC, they're looking for an accountant with 3 years of experience, and they are very much open to what kind of experience. They don't need a CPA. They could look at someone with accounts payable or accounts receivable experience, and they're looking in like the 60 to 65 range.
Now, if they tell you that you really don't need to get a CPA, Are they trying to really keep you from getting the CPA because they're concerned that if you do get certified, you could leave that association or that company? Is that would you think that's a concern? I mean, I know a lot of employers, when I was working for someone, all right, they used to say, hey, we don't need a CPA. Don't bother. Don't take the CPA exam. But I realized at some later point that if I really wanted to move up in the accounting profession, I should have the CPA. And by not having the CPA for this company, all right, I didn't have the flexibility. I didn't have the mobility. I couldn't negotiate necessarily a higher salary. Do you find that? Is that a true statement?
Gosh, that sounds so crappy.
Well, I was in New York. Yeah, well, that's another story.
I really have not found that, Phil. I think that, I think employers are pretty, I don't want to say resigned, but pretty understanding of the fact that with the millennial workforce, they're not going to be able to keep someone in their department for 10 years anymore. I think that folks are looking for someone with tenure and loyalty in their last jobs. And what that means nowadays is 3 years. So I think that, that's not something that I've heard in terms of employers not encouraging it for that particular reason. I think it's the more I've heard about it is folks are encouraging their staff to pursue the CPA so that their accounting function can, grow in prestige. If every
Yes. person
in the accounting department has that, they're going to look really good to their CFO and their board.
But I've spoken to students who said, the person they report to is not a CPA. Uh-huh. So if they tell them they're studying for the CPA exam, they do everything they can to discourage those people. And that's a problem, we know
they're afraid they'll lose their own jobs. And
that's correct.
This person would replace them. Now that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, my feeling is this. If the person you're reporting to is not a CPA and they actually are trying every possible way to keep you from studying for the CPA exam, I would do one of two things. All right. I guess I would just say, I don't care what this person thinks. I'm going to go for it, even though this person may not like me. And even when I get to CPA, they'll hate me even more. Or I can go look for a new job. Now, when I was in school, they looked at your resume, and if you were in a firm for a company in 3 years, all right, then you went someplace else for 3 years, and then so forth and so on. They said, because I remember dealing with this, you're a job skipper. You go from, we can't count on you. Now, today that's changed. What is a long tenure at a company today? Is it just 3 years?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now I would consider, or my clients would consider, if they've committed 3 years and shown some sort of progression, then that's enough. I will say though, if you commit for 3 years in one place and then make a lateral, say you're a staff accountant at ABC company, then, take a staff accountant role at XYZ company, and then now you're looking for another staff accountant role, they're going to have some hesitations about that because they're going to think, well, why haven't you grown from that, even after moving companies?
Now, if the economy was to tank like 2008, and by the way, let me bite my tongue on that. But if the economy tanked like in 2008 and we had all these brokerage firms really having financial problems, all right, I just lost my train of thought. Someone just walked out. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Is there going to be where finance is going to not be as big a major as, say, accounting would be? I think that happened during that period because people think, well, I major in finance, I am set for life. Yeah. But the problem is if the economy just does go down, all right, hopefully not as bad as I said, like 2008, but if it goes down, these firms could start laying off people. Now, therefore, now all of a sudden, the people majoring in finance, and we have this glut, all right, they're going to be out of work. Am I correct?
Gosh, I think that's a good guess to make. It's hard to really know for sure, but I think you're right. I think that this comes with that trade-off of accounting being more stable of a career choice. It might not be as, sparkly and, we say as sexy as finance sometimes, depending on where you're working, but it's more stable and it's more reliable. And, if you're an accountant, you are going to have that stability even when the economy tanks, because a company's always going to need good accountants, and even more so when the economy suffers.
But of course, we don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know, when the economy might drop, whatever. Actually, I read some of these things every day. All right, these economists, some of them say, "Hey, we're headed towards a recession." Okay, well, gee, it scares everybody. Now, would it change? This is not really a question I'm answering, but I guess, would it change what the major would be for these people? I don't know if they really keep up with that so much, because I talk to them, they say, they don't listen to the news. Therefore, they'll just keep going into the finance area.
Yeah.
But, finance, yes, it is sexier than being a CPA. In fact, when I did my doctoral dissertation, I did it on the negative image that people have of accountants. And I showed it as portrayed in movies, books, and also I did questionnaires on what majors people would pick once they declare the major. And most of them said they would not declare as an accountant. And the reason is because they just see accountants as dull, boring, all right? And also they don't have any hair, all right? And this is the way they're portrayed on TV shows, the eye shade and all that, all right? But I don't think you see that anymore. I don't think that image of the accountant is still out there. Is it still out there, or?
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I think that, especially with the reputation that, that comes with going into a Big Four accounting firm and doing your audit rotation. And, I think these are, those programs are really appealing to folks who are looking to build a prestigious career within accounting, and I've seen a lot of millennials pursue that path who aren't the stereotypical, like you said, with behind the eye shade, So I think that's something that has certainly changed and is continuing to change.
What are the millennials looking at? I mean, this is a new generation. How are they different from the prior generation? I mean, what do they expect when they graduate? I mean, is there something different from what they expect, or?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question. And I think that it has changed. I mean, I've been recruiting for 13 years. This is my year 13 in the business. But
that's a lucky number. That's a lucky number.
Yes, lucky 13, exactly.
Lucky 13, yes.
But I'm technically a millennial still. But I've certainly seen the recent college grads that I've interviewed changed a lot over the past 13 years. I think it used to be where people just really wanted a job and wanted to be with a great company and really wanted to get started in their careers. And I see now the more trend to, I really want a company that gives back. I really want my input to be taken seriously in my next in my job. I really want to be with a team I can collaborate with. I mean, all the sources that we've been reading have said, it's less about compensation than about these days in terms of attracting millennials than about culture and corporate responsibility and not just room for career advancement, but room for personal growth. And, little comments that I see when I'm interviewing people will show me that, like, hey, I'm really looking for somewhere where I can feel like I'm adding value, or, hey, I'm really looking for a company that's going to pour back into me and train me and mentor me and provide that for me.
Do they look more for quality of life? Is that what they're looking for?
Yeah, I totally think so. Yep.
So how then do public accounting firms attract these people when we know that public accounting firms work people to death during certain times of the year?
I know. Oh my gosh, that's a great question. How do they do it? I think that these recent, the ones who choose to go into the Big Four probably have a different mindset than the typical millennial. And I think that they know that they're going to go in, they're going to spend their 2 to 4 years really grinding it out and really building out their skill set and getting a good reputation and getting that network, and then be able to have their choice a little bit in their mid-20s to where they want to go. So I think that what the Big Four has is that that prestige and that reputation and that springboard to a career of choice for millennials.
I see. We were talking about, you do have a division within your company for new hires. Is that correct?
For entry level, yes.
Entry level,
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You want to tell us about that?
Sure. So whereas Parker and Lynch focuses on permanent placement, direct hire, which is the same as direct hire placement of accounting professionals in what we consider to be the upper half of the accounting and finance org chart, we have a sister division, accounting principals, and that's spelled with the PALS at the end, accounting principals, that places more junior level candidates. So right out of college without any experience or just starting to study for the CPA. And the roles that they place for are accounts payable accountant, accounts receivable clerk, payroll accountant.
Is there anything more glamorous than that?
They have a fund accountant, but that's on the temp side.
Right.
But generally speaking, that if you're entry level, you're going to have to go a little bit less, a little bit less sparkly.
So you don't deal with entry level for public accounting, is that correct?
No, our firm does not. We recruit only for internal accounting and finance departments of companies.
Chrissie, we only have about 6 minutes left, so this is what I want you to do, all right? Okay. This is your 5 or 6 minutes, all right? And you can do an advertisement for your company. Tell the people what you're looking for as far as getting people into your company, maybe to look for new positions or increase their money with getting a new position.
Oh, great. I would
love
Chrissie.
That, Phil.
Thank
Please,
you.
Go ahead.
Great. Get to do my own commercial. So this is for your audience who is who's looking to do CPA review and more. And by the way, I've asked around in the marketplace, and your program has a really strong reputation. If you are especially in public accounting and you've gone through at least 2 busy seasons, your skill set is really marketable, but you probably don't want to pour a lot of time and effort into a job search because, as we all know, searching for a job can be a full-time job. So working with a recruiting firm like Parker and Lynch, you could partner with one of our executive recruiters on my team and be exposed to hundreds of companies with opportunities that aren't even posted online. And we would interview you and then match you based on what your career goals are with the clients that we have. So, really our target is anywhere from 2 years of experience or 2 busy seasons if you're Big Four on up to 20 plus years, because we do have some positions that are, chief accounting officer level or chief financial officer level. So, if you find that you're in that stage, whether you're in Washington, D.C., or if you're in wanting to move to another market, Parker and Lynch has 75 offices all around the country. So that can also be a way that we could be a resource for you if you're confidentially looking for a move to Chicago or San Francisco or Denver being a big place that millennials are looking to move, or Nashville. We can connect you to someone who is specifically in tune with that marketplace, so you can do a confidential search. They can do a confidential search on your behalf. So I think that's really where we can show a lot of value is, if you are in an accounting career and you're looking to make a confidential transition, or even just talk to someone about the marketplace, and you're not ready to move now, but in a year you might be. That's really where that's who we look to partner with.
What about finance people? What can you do for them?
Yeah, so finance people. So for financial analysts, that's financial analysts and senior financial analysts right now are the most common finance positions that we are working on recruiting for. So if you are looking to switch into financial analysis from accounting, or you've built your financial analyst experience and just finished the CFA and don't have anywhere else to go within your company, we'd be able to help you with that too. We've also recruited for manager and director level of FP&A before, so that's certainly the kind of role that we could help you land too. And we work with so many different types of organizations in the DC area. We work with everything from your tiny 10-person nonprofit to your lobbying office of a big corporation to a Fortune 500 company, and pretty much everything in between. Nonprofit, trade associations, private companies that include financial services and real estate and startups and tech firms and manufacturing and renewable energy. So, we could really get into your interests and where you want to be and match you really strategically.
And tell them how do they get a hold of you, Chrissie?
Sure. So I am on LinkedIn. Chrissie Hendrickson is my name. Chrissie spelled with an IE at the end. And so LinkedIn is the easiest if you don't want to write down my email address or phone number, but I'm always willing to connect you with someone on my team. So Chris at Hendrickson, ParkerLynch.com is my email address as well. But I would love to connect with anyone in the network here. Be able to help them out.
What's your phone number? Can they call you?
Sure. You can call me.
Yeah.
It's 202-478-4950.
All right. You want to repeat that one last time? Your phone number?
Chrissie Hendrickson. My direct dial is 202-478-4950.
Chrissie, thank you so much for your time being on our show.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And this is Dr. Phil. That's what I like to call myself. And remember, don't confuse me with that fake guy on TV, okay? All right.
You're the real Dr. Phil.
Well, I'm the real Dr. The difference is I have hair. Remember that.
Yes.
Okay? All right? Anyway, thanks a lot, Chrissie. Take care.
Thanks
have a
so
good
much.
day.
You too. Have a good one.
All right. This is Phil Yeager, and thank you again for listening to our podcast. All right. Keep listening because we have more guests to come. Thank you very much.
Thanks again for listening to CPA Review and More with your host, Phil Yeager. If you have any questions or topics you'd like to hear about, we want to hear from you. Send your feedback live to us here at the studio at podcast@YeagerCPAReview.com. That email will also be in the podcast description for this episode. If you're in the market for a review course or simply want to know more about Yeager CPA Review and what we have to offer, check out our website. Link will be in the description as well. Don't forget to use promo code PODCAST to take advantage of 15% off your purchase of the CPA Review course bundles on the Yeager website. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast to keep hearing more of the great podcasts that CPA Review and More has to offer. Until next time, take care